Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about some of the different factions of MMA fans that are in our beloved community. Now, I've already made a video talking about the worst fan bases in MMA. This is going to be very different. These are going to be some of the worst types of fans to either interact with on Twitter, or worse, watch an actual event with. To give you an idea of who's going to be on this list, we have the JRE disciples, the wannabe commentators, the living room sparring partners, and the John Jones Glazers. All of those, plus many, many more, I'm going to put into a tier list from, you know what, you guys are actually pretty cool people, from literally the worst. Okay, like that's the best way I can describe this criteria. This is definitely going to be in the same vein as the worst MMA, best MMA bases, cursed edition, something like that. Don't be taking this too seriously, but I'm going to be having some hot takes in here. And with that intro out of the way, I just want to get into this. We're going to start with somebody that's very, very close to home for me. And that is the expert blue belt. This guy, just because you get a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't automatically make you an expert in all things grappling in the sport. It is crazy how consistent somebody getting a blue belt, automatically they think it makes them an expert. I get it. Only 20% of people that actually start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ever get the blue belt. That is a legit achievement, and I will congratulate you on it. But if we're watching an MMA event together, and you're like, how doesn't he know how to do a lockdown and half guard? If he switches out of the Sumagaichi, he'll be able to get a mounted guillotine. Shut up! Okay? If you ever say pull guard again, I'm going to hope somebody soccer kicks you. Stop it. Every once in a while it's cool, but for the entirety of the fight, I'm sorry, like I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna turn into the living room sparring partner on you. Now, as far as where I would place them, they are not the worst. They are annoying, okay? They are one of the more annoying of the bunch because of how consistently they're going to talk shit as you're watching an event with them. The good news about them that keeps them away from, like, the worst is they're pretty quiet on Twitter because they know if they start talking shit on Twitter, people that actually know what they're talking about are going to bury them in the replies. So I'm going to put them in just annoying. Next up, the Dagestani fans. Now, let me explain something to you. There's a difference between being a Dagestani fan or a Dagestani brethren or a Dagestani fan. Let me explain something to you. Being a Dagestani fan is like being the Tom Brady fan of combat sports, okay? It really just is. I know people that will specifically bet on people that are associated with the Nurmagomedovs or people that sound like they have a Dagestani accent purely because they know they're going to make their money back. And they pretend to like them to disguise what they're doing. Listen, I don't care about Saraputin Magomedov. I don't care about him. I'm going to bet on him because he's probably going to win against the 3 cans that they give him. I did the same thing with Umar. I did the same thing with Islam. I put a lot of money on Islam Makhachev beating Dan Hooker. I made a lot of money off of that one. But let's be honest here. You don't love them because of their personality, because most of them have the personality of a 2x4. And most of them are not the most exciting fighters. Islam's pretty cool. I'll give you that one. Saraputin's pretty cool. Magomed Ankalaev. Who are you kidding? I'm sorry. Now, I'm just going to put you guys in... You guys... Okay, here's the problem. When you're watching an event with them, they're always like, yeah, these Dagestani guys are for real. Okay, it was cool the first 13 times you did it. The 14th time, when we're starting to lose it a little bit, and you guys are super vocal on Twitter. Anytime that your guy wins, you guys won't shut up about it. I'm going to put you guys in terrible. Not quite the worst, but you guys are definitely going up there. Okay? There is some room for redemption, but I'm just going to put you in terrible. Next up, the Dana White Glazers. These are people that you can't say anything bad about Dana White, or if they even show Dana White's pinky finger on screen for half a second, they're going to talk about, Dana White looks so good. Dana White did so good building this sport for us. Man, I think he was justified when he smacked his wife. Like, listen, there can be truth to what you're saying, but you can 100% bash Dana White for certain things. I'm sorry. He has done scummy things in the past. He actively tried to feed Nate Diaz to Khamzat Chimaev because he was salty that Nate Diaz was going out on free agency. He is actively trying to get the UFC to forget about Francis Ngannou, and he is keeping Jon Jones away from Tom Aspinall. You can bring up the stuff that Dana White has done while giving credit to what Dana White's done for the UFC. The thing is that these people are not terrible by any means. And usually they're pretty quiet because they don't sow Dana White a lot. I'm just gonna put them in meh. Like, every once in a while they'll say, like, they're annoying whenever I make a video talking about Dana White, and then they'll come at me like I insulted their Christ figure. No. I'm just pointing out something that Dana White has done that I think is kind of scummy. But overall, I'm just gonna put you guys in meh. Next up, the JRE disciples. It is kind of weird to think about that Joe Rogan has officially gotten big enough that there is a whole group of fans that didn't even know about the UFC until they watched Joe Rogan. I knew about the UFC, then got into the JRE, but now there's people from the JRE getting into the UFC. We got the reverse. And these people are a unique type of casual. They're going to be branched off into the stoners, the alcoholics, and sometimes they're the casuals. It's all three of them rolled up in the one. They're a mixed bag, but overall, the JRE disciples are pretty cool because I'm a huge JRE fan. I'm going to put them in cool. Usually they're pretty chill people. I like them. Next up, the wannabe commentator. Awful. Awful, actually. Terrible. Yeah, terrible. These are the people that they don't even have like a unique thing that they bring. They just, I think, lack the ability to have internal thoughts, or they have a main character syndrome. They're probably mouth breathers, mostly because we'll be watching an MMA event, and they'll just audibly say, it's just like, okay, jab, 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 right, leg kick, you see, you see, Ankalaev got to put his guard up, or he's going to get hit with that overhand right. Jason, shut up! We're watching an event. We don't care, okay? I can barely stand the bias-ass commentary from Daniel Cormier sometimes. I don't want to hear you. Like, that's a fact. Like, if there's three of them all in the one and they have different, like, different ideas, then cool. But I swear, most of these wannabe commentators have, like, a hive mind. Have different thoughts. A lot of them will, like, re-say what the actual commentators are saying. And here's the funniest part about it. Most of the wannabe commentators are just, like, Joe Rogan clones. That is all one bad part that comes from the JRE disciples, but it's not all of them. But damn, they be annoying sometimes. I'm going to put them in terrible, bro. Next up, the Jon Jones Glazers. These are the people that think that we don't know that Jon Jones' one loss doesn't actually count as a loss. And they'll be like, well, actually, that rule does no longer count anymore. We know! Joe Rogan says it all the effing time. We know Jon Jones' one loss doesn't really count. We are aware of this. Also, they are the epitome of Jon Jones is innocent. No, he's not. I'm sorry. It is perfectly valid to bring up Jon Jones. I'm not even going to say potentially, the domestic abuse stuff. Okay, you can 100% bring that up if anybody wants to talk about how Jon Jones is a great guy. In my mind, I think it's pretty rips if you're going to message a guy, like DM a dude, I don't know if you guys have seen the DMs, message a dude how his opinions on you are invalid because he makes more money than you, and that the domestic abuse stuff doesn't matter because his wife is still with him. That sounds like Stockholm Syndrome to me, and Jon Jones is one bad night from being O.J. Simpson. Like, Jon Jones Glazers are a very unique type of annoying. I'm going to put them at the top of annoying. The fact is they will say some stuff that I do agree with. Like, there's a lot of Jon Jones diminishers. The fact is Jon Jones did fight a lot of the legends. He was juicing. Like, they all, like, I'm going to put him at the top of annoying. If there's no Jon Jones, they don't talk. Next up, the living room sparring partners. Probably one of the worst. One of the worst, dude. Here's the funniest part about it. Most of them are, like, sub-blue belt level grappling. And maybe they spent, like, a month at a boxing gym. Most of them are real shit. I definitely got a few story times. Like, most of them really suck. The fact is most people that, like, really understand aren't trying to fight while they're watching a fight. But these people, I swear, their fight or flight response is they can watch another man fight another man, and they'll instantly start punching your shoulder. I'm sorry, if I am watching an event, I don't care if we're watching the pre-fight or the walkout. If you come up to me and slug me in the shoulder, I am going to anaconda choke you. Okay? I might heel hook you to make sure you don't walk towards me again. If we're going to have a living room sparring match, you're probably not walking. They are some of the most annoying people I have ever watched an event with. I'm sorry. We can talk. 100%. I will take a casual fan, a fake MMA intellectual, a stand-em-up bro, a JRE disciple. If you come up to me and initiate a conflict, but don't want to engage in the conflict, yeah, you're one of the worst people. You're like the Neon of MMA fans. Next up, the locked-in motherfucker. Cool. I like that. This is me most of the time. Most of the time when I'm watching an event, I am silent. I will watch the event. Most of the time, it's either in the dark or there's like two other people. But like I'll just look at the. I'll look a lot like TJ Dillashaw on that one Fight Companion that he did, where everybody else is talking about the event, but TJ Dillashaw is just looking there with a blank stare. The fact is I don't. The only times I'll audibly say something is either if I'm doing a Fight Companion, or I see a Max Holloway KO of Justin Gaethje, and then I'll start screaming. Other than that, I'm just, it's pretty good. Like that's mostly me. But also, that's mixed a little bit with the autism, and that comes in later on. But the locked-in dudes, they're just cool. Like they don't really do anything. They're pretty chill. Yeah. The stand-em-up bros, bad. They're just bad because a lot of the stand-em-up bros will say it when it's just not valid. The fact is, I'll never forget it. There was a time, I think it was a Charles Oliveira fight, and it was one of the Brazilians. He had a fully locked-in triangle and was actively turning to crank it. And the dude who was getting strangled started throwing hammer fist, right? And then when he started losing, like, consciousness and started wilting, there was... The fucking guy said, stand him up, he's not doing anything. Dog, he's being strangled! What is he supposed to do? He's going on... Bro, he's meeting God. What is he supposed to do? Okay, like... It goes to a point where I just can't defend it anymore. These are the type of people that when Damian Maia gets on the back of Tyron Woodley and almost is about to finish the fight, they'll say, oh, they ain't doing anything, separate. Like, no. Okay, like, you can spend more than 10 seconds on the ground before we have to stand them up. At 30 seconds, I agree with you. 20 seconds, I'll start agreeing with you. 10 seconds, chill. You've never grappled before. Come on. Bad. Just bad, not annoying, not too annoying, not terrible, definitely not the worst, but bad. Next up, the everything is karate bro. If you have had the luck of not being around these people, consider yourself lucky. The everything is karate bro is in the name. These people think every little bit of boxing is a form of karate. They think that I once saw Ryan Hall hit an Imanari roll, and somebody tried to argue that that was a karate move. Shut up. The dude who made the Imanari roll is a dude named Imanari that was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I'm sorry. Stop trying to just steal other martial arts' moves. Don't be salty that karate got absolutely decimated and got turned into a little kid's martial art. I don't care if you're a karate black belt. You got your black belt when you were 7. Any martial art, I don't even think this is a hot take. Any martial art that you are able to get a black belt in before the age of 13 is not a martial art, it's a gimmick. You paid for a black belt. Like, if I met a 18-year-old black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I would actually be more skeptical than anything. If you are 23 years old, in Jiu-Jitsu, you could be 23, be a purple belt, and be a world champion. That is how different that mentality is. They are, I'm just going to put them in annoying. They are just above the blue belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I would consider a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu equal to 99% of black belts in karate, in terms of how annoying they are, and honestly, sometimes skill level. Next up, the gambling addict. These people will come up with the most unnatural, unrealistic parlays, and then damn near have a mental breakdown when it eventually fails. I once had a dude throw a a toddler tantrum when he picked Dan Hooker to beat Islam Makhachev. I could have told you that wasn't gonna work. Like, every once in a while, they make sense. Like, dude, like, Robulus Despain losing to Waldo Acosta. Yeah, your parlay got fucked. But damn, don't make it annoying for everybody else. I'm just gonna put them in, they're above the stand 'em up bros. Most of the time, they just cry in the corner. Like, they're not super audible until it's something crazy. But I'll be real with you. When Robulus Despain lost, I was also screaming too. What? I already talked about it, but damn. Next up, the Conor McGregor Glazers. These are the people that no matter who's fighting, they'll make a comparison to Conor McGregor. Or sometimes it's O'Malley now. These are the people that, I love my brother to death. He is one of these people that will come up. They have just enough knowledge about McGregor to make a case that he's the GOAT. But anytime you try to bring up evidence to disprove their claim, they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Then stop fucking saying it. Okay? Like, let's chill on that. Conor McGregor having a GOAT argument that's realistic, I'm sorry, at this point is just dumb. We can say all day long, Conor McGregor was the dude that brought a lot of fans to the sport. Chill, though. In terms of annoying, I would put them... They're getting quieter now. I'm just going to put them in bad. Bottom of bad. They're slightly more annoying than the Dana Glazers. Next up, the Alcoholic. Pretty annoying. A lot of these guys like seem to have a lot of weird kinship with John Jones. Like, oh, I understand why he hit his wife. Okay, bud. All right. You can definitely choose them out of the crowd when you're watching an event with them and you just have the one dude that's like this. A lot of the time they'll say some shit like, I fucking do better. No, you wouldn't, bro. Okay, and a lot of them turn into the living room. Actually, I'm just going to put them in terrible. A lot of the alcoholics turn into the living room sparring partners. The only reason I'm not putting them in the worst is they're way easier to deal with than just like your amateur martial artist. A lot of the time, they're either really antsy and know very little, or they're an alcoholic and know nothing. In that case, it's pretty easy, and it's justified if you whoop them. So I'm going to put them in terrible. Next up, the autism. I'm definitely one of these. Sometimes they make a lot of noises. They are socially awkward, though, so it kind of works out. I am with you guys. I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of myself. I'm going to put them in meh. I think meh is a pretty good one. Most of the time, they're pretty chill people. A lot of them... So if somebody looks like this when they're watching an event, they either have autism or locked in or a little bit of both like me. But otherwise, they don't really bother you when you're watching an event with them. You just wouldn't notice unless you initiate a conversation with them. Next up, the stoner. A lot of the stoners come from the JRE disciples, and they're very chill. Way better than the alcoholics. I would actually put them in pretty cool. A lot of them bring, I'll put them in meh. They make your living room smell like ass, bro. So I'm gonna put them in meh. Like, if people with autism brought a smell to them, and maybe the Dana Glazers bring a smell to them, a lot of them smell like Axe body spray, but they just bring skunk weed around, bro. Like, I'm just gonna put them in meh. Like, the locked-in dude doesn't smell like anything. The JRE bro sometimes is the stoner. But other than that, pretty cool. Next up, the amateur boxer. Also, never look up amateur boxer on Microsoft Bing. That is your warning. Do not do it. And to the 13-year-old that's thinking about doing it, do not fucking do it. I don't know if you guys heard that. Like, the moment I said don't do it, there was a lightning bolt that just went off over there. I saw that in the corner of my eye, and I thought God himself was like, damn right, warn him. But the amateur boxer, again, no, they're more annoying than the amateur blue belt, less annoying than the karate guy, because when somebody goes for a double leg, they won't say, oh, well, that comes from boxing. That's what the karate guy will say. The amateur boxer will talk about how, man, bro got double leg, couldn't be me. Let me just first preface this. The odds of a middle school wrestler taking you down and you have absolutely zero training, I would argue is around 70%. The odds of a high school level grappler taking you down is about 85%. The odds of a collegiate level grappler getting you down to the ground is 100%. There is literally nothing you can do if a collegiate level grappler grabs a hold of you. Like, I've heard them say, well, I'm just going to land an uppercut. I'm going to pivot, uppercut, take him down. Dude, I remember having a distinct matchup. He was like, his acolytes were fucking wild. He was like a U of M grappler, like a Big Ten conference freshman year. Like, dude was a motherfucker. I remember having to spar with this guy. This guy goes for a double leg, and hips are to the ground. There's absolutely no way that he's going to be able to finish this. This motherfucker lifted me up like I was a 3-year-old toddler and proceeded to pile drive me into the mat until my ribs tickled my lungs. I thought I met God for a second. No, it was just a U of M grappler that looked like Maui. But yeah, no, amateur boxers just annoying. Wrestlers are overall pretty chill. I should have put them on here, but they're just chill people. Next up, the Khabib acolytes. Very similar to the Conor acolytes, if not a little bit more annoying. These are the people that to this day will try to make an argument for Khabib being the GOAT. The problem is that makes them more annoying is they have a better case to be made than the Conor McGregor people, so it's harder to disprove them. And then every time you do come up with something that does diminish Khabib Nurmagomedov, the fact that he only has 3 title defenses, the fact that he came up in a time that really there wasn't a lot of grapplers that he was fighting outside of RDA, and even RDA's grappling when you're comparing it to the cream de la cream. Like, would you put RDA in the top 10 greatest grapplers in UFC history? No, you wouldn't. When you bring that up, they'll be like, didn't lose a round, only lost 2 rounds in 29 fights. Yeah, 13 of those fights were against Russian taxi drivers. Of course, yeah. Next up, Mexicans. Cool. You guys have the most goated food, the most goated, like, fan base I've ever seen in terms of, like, how you get behind fighters. The only thing that's slightly annoying is that even if a fighter looks Mexican, you will support him. They could be Ecuadorian versus like an American. You'll support the Ecuadorian. Now, where it does get weird is Mexican fans don't claim Cejudo. That's why I think it's funny when he'll be like, yeah, I'm Mexican-American, but I'm American. Mexicans don't really claim Cejudo. I always think that's kind of a funny thing. It's starting to rain now. I'm trying to speed run this. But in terms of like Mexicans, best food, goated fan base, they're really into their sport, overall chill vibes, cool. The MMA intellectual, terrible. These are people that actually know the sport, but they're so up their ass about it that they will never let you forget that they know about this sport. Sometimes they know about the sport more than you do. Other than that, this overall annoying, terrible. They'll bring up some stuff that happened at Pride FC. I'm sorry. A takedown that happened against Pride FC at the end of the 3rd round of one fight does not matter when we're talking about Charles Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian. We don't care if this takedown is similar to a takedown that happened 30 years ago. Nobody cares. A lot of it is just information that's meant to make them sound smart, but ultimately means absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to put it in just terrible. Actually, I would put them next to a lot of the MMA intellectuals become wannabe commentators. Next up, the casual. Just meh. If a casual who's aware he's a casual is pretty chill. A casual who's not aware that they're a casual, that's how you get Conor Glazers, Khabib acolytes, and John Jones Glazers. Casuals that know they're a casual are overall pretty chill people, and they're like little children experiencing riding a bike for the first time. They often love the sport. A lot of them come from NFL, NBA, watching those sports year after year, and then they got in the UFC because they heard that their best boy was bringing home beer, pizza, and watching a fight with the boys. They're overall pretty chill people, and a lot of them seem to look like Rowley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And finally, women. Okay, they're either meh or cool. I'm gonna assume the latter. If you get yourself a woman that understands combat sports and actively watches it, cool. Okay, just cool. Not quite the coolest of the cool, but definitely in that group of people. We need more women that understand combat sports. I think that's gonna be it for the video. I do believe it's really starting to come down now, but I think I was able to get all of the wisdom that I needed to. These are the different factions of MMA fans. Everything from the wannabe commentators to the JRE disciples to the absolute worst, the living room sparring partners. that is going to be it for this video. Thank you everybody who watches it. Thank you for getting me nearly to 10,000 subscribers. I'm working on a special for that to come, and I just want to say thank you everybody who continues to tune in, and I hope you all have a great day. Adios.